everyone. We're going to give everyone just a couple of minutes to hop on and tune in. Once you hop on, go ahead and make a comment and let us know that you're watching. Please go ahead and tag and share this out. I am so excited to be sitting down with this sister. Um, as you know, Land Foundation Life Center, we in the month of April. For those who don't know, the month of April is Child Abuse Awareness Month, and we observe that here. I'm very passionate. It's one of my passion. Um, is standing up for the babies, standing up for our babies in the community. I take it very seriously too. Sometimes I say, Renee, step back from the mirror. You're too involved here. But I'm so excited. I saw this sister. She wrote a post. I'm not going to tell her story. I'm going to let her tell it. But it was so very moving and powerful. And the minute I saw it, I was like, that's it. That's what I be talking about on here when I'm doing Child Abuse Awareness Month. This is what I'm pointing to. So before we begin, before I let her introduce herself, before we get into that, please hit the like button, subscribe button, and share button if you're watching from Land Foundation Life Center YouTube channel. If you're watching from Facebook, please tag and share, because this is going to be very, very good, very, very powerful, very, very worth your time. Now, I want to say this before I get started, while it's on my brain, all those, because I know sometimes I get the heat, like Renee is promoting abortion, but Renee do not promote abortion. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say all the people who are against abortion, please tune in. If you know somebody who against abortion, Christians who are pro-life, please tell them the people I want to tune in. Those are the ones I want to reach. I want to reach all my pro-lifers. I want to reach all, my Christian friends who say you can't be saved and vote Democrat because they believe in abortion. Go tell them to tune in, please. Go tag, share it, share it, share it, share it. Because I think this sister really points to what I'm trying to say here. What's in my heart is for us not to just be people who say, oh, I don't believe in this and I don't believe in that. Where they don't get on your rent. I don't believe in this, I don't believe in that, but then don't show up. Then don't show up. And so when I read her story, I was like, this is what I have in mind. This is what my goal is to, I know it don't seem like it sometimes, but I am trying to motivate people to get involved. Go talk to the people who are doing the cases, working those that's working in that system, because it has a high turnover rate. Let's see if we can't support them. And let's put our bodies, let's put our resources, let's put our minds where our big mouth is. Basically, what I'm trying to say. Let's show up where for the things that let's show the world that this is something that we really care about, and not something we just say, I don't care, I don't believe. Let's show them. Let's put our body. God taught me that a long time ago. I had a bad habit of saying, oh, these and that and that, and all up in everybody's business, till God was like, look here, now you gonna answer that for her. You gonna answer it. And I said, me? And he said, yeah, you the answer. And I was like, I'm the answer. I don't got the resources to be her answer. And he said, well, you better figure it out, because you are her answer. You don't put when you put your mouth in a place, you need to put your actions right there where your big mouth is. And so that's just kind of all I'm saying. I'm just repeating what the Lord said to me, and if we say we don't believe in this, then let's really show up in this area. And I want to talk about different ways that we can show up in this area. And I say I stand too close to the mirror, because I feel like I'm part of the orphan community. My mom died when I was 4 years old. I was raised by sisters and brothers, had a very unstable lifestyle, a very abusive lifestyle. And there was times that I put myself, because I thought I was grown, but I really wasn't grown. I went for 13. But I thought I was grown, put myself in a lot of places where I could have gotten harmed. And a lot of people I hung with did get harmed. And a lot of people that I hung with got hooked on drugs. What kind of people did you hang with, Renee? I'm glad you asked. I hung out with people who were like me, who didn't have parents, who could hang out all night, who could stay out to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning if we wanted to. We if we wanted to school, wanted to go to school. We went to school. We didn't want to go to school. We didn't have nobody else to. We answered to ourselves. And so, but the thing I know about that system and being in that position, who shows up? Predators. I can tell you who show up. Predators. They put themselves in these positions where they can do what they want to these children, because they have nobody to stand up for them. They have nobody to speak up for them. They have nobody to fight on their behalf. So that's the reason, why I'm gonna shut up. That's the reason why I'm so passionate about this. But I'm gonna turn it over to our guest, and I want to say thank you for hopping on. Thank you for tuning in once again. Please hit the like button, subscribe button, share button. If you're watching from our YouTube channel, if you're watching from Facebook, please tag and share, tag and share. And I want to say thank you to this evening guest for coming and sharing her journey with us. At this time, I'll turn it over to her. Let her tell us about her and what she does. And just, I'm not going to say anything, Tanya. I want you got free flow. I love what you shared on your post. And I think that's, when I saw it, I said, that's my vision for Child Abuse Awareness Month, the foster care system. And so I'm going to turn it over to you at this time.
Hello, my name's Tanya Hagins, and I wish I could just pull that post up and I could read it. Um, because I don't know how to work all these platforms and stuff like this. But however, most of you guys in Hall County, y'all know me as Tanya Cheeks. I'm Tanya Cheek Hagins. I have worked in the school system as a bus driver, as a parapro. I also worked with the Department of Juvenile Justice as a juvenile probation officer. I've worked with DFACS as a foster care case manager, and now I still work for the Department of Juvenile Justice. I'm a assessment classification specialist. Um, I'm sorry, but what I posted the other week, it was something that I said that I would share later at a later time more on it. But what I posted is about when my boys, which are my boys that I adopted, came to live with us. We were actually foster parents. We became foster parents in 2017, the summer of 2017. And the reason why we became foster parents is because as a juvenile probation officer, I came home and I told my husband that there was a kid that they keep on. I have already had him on my caseload as a probationer, and I've already sent him to group homes, which he successfully completed. But every time he went home, he ended right back up in the RYDC. So I realized it wasn't he wasn't just the problem. His home life was the problem. So therefore, DFACS got involved. When DFACS got involved, they wanted to continue to put this kid in group homes. And the only reason why they continued to put him in group homes was because there was not enough foster families out there willing to take. Well, let me take it back. There were foster families out there. However, they wasn't willing to take this particular group of kids. Kids that have a label of DJJ or probation, they don't want those kids in their homes because they're afraid. Most of those kids that are in the juvenile system, they're in there prior because of their home life, of what they're exposed to. And so when I first met him, he said to me at 12 years old, how cool would it be if my probation officer could be my mother? And I spoke to him like I would because I was trained when I went to school that that was a conflict of interest. And I told him that day, I said, babe, that can never happen. That's a conflict of interest. However, 3 years 3 years later, He's no longer on probation and he's in the foster care system. Nobody's willing to give him a chance. So I come home, I talk to my husband, I ask my husband, just go visit him at the RY. Let you on the list. Go visit him, see what you think. And and we can become a foster parent so we can get him. So no foster parent I'm tired of him going to group homes because he's gonna run and he's gonna end up back in the DJJ system for just running away from a group home. So of course my husband, he went and visited him, and he was on board. But of course, you have to go through the process. However, since I was already a probation officer, the courts went on ahead and signed him over to us before we finished getting our home ready. So we wasn't getting paid. We wasn't receiving any per diem. We wasn't receiving anything to bring this kid in our home. We brought this kid in our home because he had this kid, I'm still to this day, he just had a birthday on the 19th. He turned 25 years old. That was my first kid that ever walked in my home. I did not receive any per diem for him. I did not receive a clothing allowance for him. I did not receive anything to care for him. Only thing I received was a piece of paper with his date of birth, his social security number, and a Medicaid number to make sure he got medical his medical needs met. However, we did that. We did go through the process. During that time that he came with us, he still had family out there. And of course, the family wasn't as open to him being with his old probation officer as he was. So therefore, there were threats made toward my family, and he was going to protect us no matter what, even if it meant that he would run away to protect us. And I couldn't explain to him enough how, let us be the adults now. Let us take care of you. Don't worry about us. But kids, you don't realize, when kids love you, they're going to protect you. When they know that you have their best interests at heart, they're going to protect you. And that's exactly what he did for my family. If he knew that we were going to get into trouble, or if it was going to bring backlash on us, he was willing to do whatever he could to protect us. And so after about 2 months here, and people would make, the family would make, things about us, he run away. But by that time, we had already got our home fully. We were fully licensed to be a foster home. And as you know, you might not know, we've had more children in our home besides three. You've only heard of three, and that's the two that we adopted, and the one that he always tell me he's the poster child, the reason why these two were able to get adopted. But we've had more children in our home. I mean, I was even asked, well, did they not have any black children? Yes, I have. I've been asked that. Well, guess what? When we filled out our paperwork, we had a choice to say what we were comfortable accepting. If we were comfortable accepting black, white, purple, yellow, whatever, we had a choice to say we accept uh, children that are medically need, children that, we could just say we don't accept kids that's in DJJ, or we won't. Well, the only thing that we put on our paper, I did not want any young children. No, I did not want any babies. I wanted, if they were at least 10 years and older. Because first of all, my youngest son at the time was 10. So I did not want younger kids. If they were younger, they couldn't be younger than 8. If they were older, they couldn't be older than 15. And the reason why is because my son was 10 years old. And what people fail to realize, children that are in the foster care system, they are exposed to a lot more than children that comes from a family's home that they have not experienced anything. So therefore, I had to make sure that I was looking out for my children as well. Um, like I said, we've had many children come through our doors. However, in October of 2017, my father, when I turned in my notice to Department of Juvenile Justice as a probation officer, I was going back to driving the bus full time. However, I turned in my notice on that Friday. My father went into a coma on that Monday. Um, so of course I did not drive. I did not drive the school bus. I did not work for anyone. I didn't have any kids in my home at that time but my own child. I was in a very dark place in depression, and we were just going through as a family, trying to grieve and get through this part of our life. So months passed, and be honest, I it was November, December, and January before I even decided that I was going to go back to work. So the week of February, and we had calls from Foster. We had calls. We took like a weekend, kids for a weekend here and weekend there. But as far as long term or anything like that, we took none because like I wasn't in a place to be, keeping any kids. And so the first week of February, I decided to go back to driving the bus. I went back, and I came home that Friday. And soon as I stepped off my bus that morning, it was about 8:30 in the morning. I got a call from DFAX, and they told me they had two children in another county that needed a home. And I can, and the boys know my story, and I know their story. I was grieving at the time. I did not feel like I was capable at that time of being able to care for them because of me being in the state of mind I was in and still grieving my father. However, my husband, he came up and heard me talking on the phone. He took the phone from me. He you know was talking to the defects lady, and he said, yes, I understand. Yes, I understand it. The lady said, they're grieving too. I told her I was grieving. She still was trying to convince me, hey, we don't have a home that will keep them together and keep them from being split up. My husband took the phone and he says, it'll be okay, bring them on. He made that decision that day, and I thank God for the decision he made that day, but I didn't understand it at that time. I didn't understand how those kids needed me as much as my family needed them. Um, so of course they came that afternoon. At the time they were 10 and 12, but they didn't look like they were 10 and 12. You could tell that um they had been, you know, neglected, but I know that they carried a spirit that I know only God covered them with, because when they got out, it was like they had been here their whole life. The boys, they 2 days later, of course, we talked that first day, and of course I sat down with the oldest one and I explained to him, because when they came, people don't realize when children come to you. Still hear me? I'm sorry. Somebody tried to call in. I didn't. Okay. But when you're a foster parent, most of the time they don't give you a whole lot of information when they're trying to place the kids in your home. And this was a Friday. And of course, it's the weekend. They're trying to make sure they get these kids in a home so they don't have to be in a hotel. So they did bring me a letter, and the letter is a placement letter. And like I told you, every kid comes with a placement letter. It has their date of birth, it has their
Can't hear you. Something happened to your sound. Okay. If somebody called, it must have knocked your sound out. Uh-uh. Let me turn it up. Let me pull it up. Turn it pull it back. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You might have to go out and come back in because when somebody called you, it must have knocked your sound out. Thank you guys for hopping on. Thank you for tuning in with us. I still can't hear you. I don't know what's going on. Y'all, can y'all hear her? Because I can't hear her. Give it go back and see if you can give it access to your mic. Because sometimes when people call, it knocks your mic off. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We have a sister sharing her journey of becoming a foster parent, and it is so amazing. She's already shared a lot about the journey, about some of the things that she had to go through. Um, she's about to tell us how kids come with a placement sheet. Um, soon as she hops back in. Oh, you couldn't hear either, Barbara? Okay, thank you for letting me know. Yeah, I know I couldn't hear her. I didn't know if it was just on my end or what. But she was beginning to share with us about her placement journey. Okay, she's back. Let's pull her back in to the studio. Okay, this thing knocked her back up. We'll do that. Okay, say something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you low though.
How about now?
You still sound like you muted to me.
Mm, I don't know what else
You
to
have an
do.
echo too. Do you have two windows open?
No, not unless it's.
But you just talk. I don't need to talk.
Oh, can they hear me?
I can hear you, but you low.
Okay. I got it all the way up, so I don't know what else to do. Okay. Let me see. You want me to open it on an extended browser or something like that?
Yeah. Do you have another one open? Because it could be affecting your
No, I don't
sound.
have another one open. I've closed everything.
Because that's why it's an echo.
Um,
Okay. I
I
don't
can
know
try to
then.
go back out and.
But we can hear you though. You low, but I can hear you. Yeah, sometimes when your phone ring, it'll knock it out. I'll take her off and let me put it back on. Okay, she went out. Okay.
Is that better?
Mm. Sorry, guys. Mm. Okay, now
Is
say
that better?
something.
Can you hear me?
For some reason, I'm hearing the echo, but we can hear you. It's low, but we can hear you.
Is that better?
But you do have sound.
That's better now.
That's way better.
Okay.
Yeah,
It was echo cancellation or something. Alrighty. And as I was
yeah.
saying, is that they don't give you a lot of information, especially on a Friday. They want to go home with their families and they want to get the kids so they don't have to go to hotels. So of course I sat down with the oldest one, which was 12, and I, had a conversation with him. And I'll never forget this day as long as I live, because I know that this was God. I know it was, and he said that it was coincident. I never forget that conversation him and I had at the kitchen table. But we sat down at the kitchen table and I asked them if they had any allergies or uh food allergies. I needed to know some things about them, so I didn't want to feed them anything that would make them sick, and I didn't want to, you know but while we were sitting there at the table, my daddy's obituary was there. And like I said, my I was still grieving, so therefore it showed in my home. And he looked down and he said, "Martin," he said, um "that's your daddy's last name?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "That's my name." I said, "I thought your name was Joe." He said, "It is." He said, "But not my name is Martin Joseph, but I go by Joe." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So we continued to talk again, and then he looked back at the obituary again and he says, "What is that date? October 14th." I said, "That's the day I buried my dad." He said, "That's my birthday." At that moment, I, I didn't know how to respond, but I knew that I couldn't let him see what was happening to me at that moment. So I excused myself and I went to my bathroom and I had a talk with God. I asked God, what was happening, because I know I felt chills all over my body at that moment. And and I began to cry out to God because I didn't understand what was happening. But I knew that it was it was it was something happening in my home that I couldn't explain, and I knew what I was feeling in my heart and in my spirit. So of course I got myself together, I cleaned myself up, and I went back and I proceeded to talk with him. And he looked at me directly in my face and he says, "That's a coincidence." I said, "Baby, I don't believe in coincidence." And so of course after we finished, of course they came, all the kids, they come to your home. Some of them have suitcases, some of them have garbage bags, just depending on. Um, but they had a suitcase. I had them to put it in the garage at the time. And the reason why I did is because you don't never know the conditions that they are in, or you don't never know, what may come out of it. So that's what I did. However, what took us so fast the next time was 2 days later. Of course, we've already told them, you guys can call us Mr. and Mrs. Hagens, because first of all, we had no clue how long the kids would be here. They could be here a weekend, they could be here a week, they could be here 2 weeks. It just depends on. We never know when they come to us. But 2 days later, um, I never forget this. My little Vincent, that's my baby right there. He's the youngest. But he said that they wanted to call us mom and dad. Well, at that moment, I wasn't sure if that was the right call to allow that. And my husband, he wasn't, sure either, because we didn't know how long these kids would be here. I mean, so by allowing them to call us that, I mean, but then of course my husband and I, we sat down and we went back to our training, because we are trained to teach other foster parents. I mean, we went to a training to be able to teach other foster parents what to expect, and if the kids what they're comfortable calling you, you're to allow them. So of course we had this conversation back there, and he says, well, they told us at this training that, you know when they trained us, and then when we did the training to train the other people, is we allow the kids to call us whatever they're comfortable calling us, and if they're comfortable calling us that, we allow it. Okay, so of course we had that conversation. We came back, because I was like, I don't think that was a good idea. And when I said that, he started with weapon, and he says, but we hadn't had a mom and dad in a long time. So of course, I never forget that when Vincent said that, and I said, okay, that's fine. You can call us mom and dad. And from that day forward, they've been calling us mom and dad ever since. I still felt something in my heart about it, because I was so afraid that, them calling us mom and dad and then something happening. Because I didn't know. But Joe, he continued to tell me, you don't, Mom, you don't have to be afraid. And I was like, what you mean? I ain't afraid. I was tough. I was tough. I mean, but he could see through my toughness. He said, you don't have to be afraid about them coming to take us. We don't have nowhere to go. And I was like, babe, I said, y'all have family out there. And I said, but I'm not afraid. But he saw something in me. I was afraid. I was afraid that they get attached and then they have to leave. So I was, but he knew I was, but I wasn't showing him that I was. I wasn't trying to, anyways. And so, but he wanted me to be comfortable thinking that he wouldn't have to leave. But he didn't know this. He said, but if we don't want to go, we don't have to go. I said, that's not how it works. I said, if you have family out there and they're wanting you, then, you know, then they can come and take you. It doesn't work like that. You don't get to decide to stay with us, because he thought that he can decide, oh, well, we can stay here forever. I said, baby, it doesn't work like that. And it really doesn't. He said, well, our mom has passed and our grandmother has passed. We don't have anybody else. I said, but you do have other family. I said, but we just have to find them. Long story short, um, after about a month, we started we started getting grief counseling, because they never got to bury their grandmother. They never got to see or bury their um mother. So it was time for us to relieve them. So we did a balloon release, where they were from, and we did it for my son. He was not here when my mama passed, but he was here when his grandfather passed. So he did it for his grandmother and his grandfather. Of course, I did it for my mother and my grandfather and some of the other family members that I had left. And the boys, they did it for their grandmother and their mother. And we went to the place that they had their last time in their hometown in Lumpkin County. And we went up there, and we did a balloon release where they had an Easter egg hunt at. And that was the last time they had an outing with their grandmother. So we went up there, and we did a circle, and we did balloons, and we wrote all over the balloons what we wanted to say to our loved ones, and we released them. Then of course we started going to I did a grief counseling group at Free Chapel. The boys, they were doing counseling, as well as I sent them to, it's called Braveheart Camp, and it's through Northeast Georgia Hospice Group. And if anybody ever want to send their kids to it, I I would recommend it highly. What? Hold on just a second, please. It don't do it no more. Oh, I'm sorry. My son said that Braveheart camp, huh? Yes, I never turned it off. He said it got canceled, but I'll check into that. But anyways, the Braveheart camp, it was a it was life saving. They went a week to camp, and each time each day they would do something differently. Or one time they took a shirt of their of someone that they loved, and they made pillows out of them. They still have those pillows. They made a for keepsake box that they put all of their, what they wrote, and if they did like rocks and painted on them or whatever while they were there. But they went through a different process of grieving and releasing and learning the process of what it is about death. And of course, with the boys here with us, we went through a lot of we lost a lot of people since they've been here, and they got to go to their first funeral with us. They had never been to a funeral. They had never, seen someone in a cast. Um, they went through that with, you know, um, they knew their Uncle Pinky because they had met him. And so they were there with him. They knew my nephew because he had come here and he played with them. And so they experienced death in a healthy way. A lot of people, they don't allow kids to um learn death in a healthy, and learn how to grieve healthy. And so they got to learn that. And of course, with Benson, when he came, he was 10, but he looked like he was 6. And I treated him like he was 6. He needed that. He needed me to love on him. He needed me to give him things that he hadn't had. And I still do to the day. I still love on them, and I tell them that I love them, and I still hug them, and they need that nurturing, because so many kids, they don't get enough of it when they're young. And that is how you learn to feel, and that is how you learn. You don't need validation from the world if you're getting it at home. You need to know that you're safe at home. You need to know that you you know they can come and talk to me about anything, be open about anything. I've always made my home. I mean, now they know they're gonna get repercussions. They can come tell me about anything, but I'm not gonna shun them for telling me. But we're gonna have a conversation about it. But I want to share one thing that, I've always thought I was pretty tough, because my older ones, they thought I wasn't tough enough on these boys. They thought I was more tough on them. But the other night, when my son got home, I went in there and I asked him about a particular kid, and he said he's not friends with him. And I was like, okay. And I said, why? He said, no disrespect, but he's just not a good kid. And I said, okay. And I just said, is it gentle parenting? He said, yes, ma'am. He said, it's gentle parenting. I said, "Y- you like that I'm this tough?" He said, yes, ma'am. He said, I thank God every day for the family that I have. He said, because, you know, we know manners. He said, these kids out here, they don't know manners. I can't tell you how grateful I was that he said that, because, sometimes you think that, you got to give in, which they know I ain't gonna give in. But, sometimes you think, well, am I too hard? It took my older two to get older and have to live on their own to tell me this. But to have my youngest that I didn't birth to say this to me, that let me know that I knew what I needed when I was growing up. I didn't need them to, oh, well, I'm mad at you, I'm gonna go over here to daddy. I'm mad at daddy, I'm gonna go over here to mama. I needed somebody to say, no, you're not old enough to make those decisions. We're gonna make them for you. Nobody never did because they let me make my decisions back and forth. However, I don't let my kids make those decisions. Yes, he's 18 years old. Yes, he's considered by law an adult. But however, we make decisions together. I'm here for them. They know I'm here. I'll let them know. If you go out there and get in trouble, or your friends gonna get you out of it. If your friends gonna get you out of it, you can be grown as you want to go. You can, hey, anytime you get ready. But if you know that you gonna need your mom and daddy to get you out of it, you better be honest with us. Cause at the end of the day, we got your back to the end. We don't stop being parents. Not because you become an adult. We're parents to the day we die. But if there's any, I mean, if you ever thought about being a foster parent, if you ever thought about adopting, there is so many children. And let me clear something up because I have read a lot of things about the foster care system. Um, the kids are getting abused. The kids are getting abused in their own homes. Yes, they are bad foster homes out there. There are bad group homes out there. But guess what? It's not because the system doesn't try to wing them out. It's with everything in every job. You got bad in every job. There's going to be bad out there. But we as a community, if you see it, then you say something. If you got a foster home beside you and you know that they're not doing right, then you speak up. If you got a family over here and you know those kids are not being taken care of, you are a mandated reporter, whether you done signed the papers or not. All because you report on somebody, that doesn't mean that they're gonna have their children taken. It means that somebody is gonna go check on those kids. Foster doesn't. Every time that people say, "Oh, they just taking kids out," they don't have anywhere to put these kids. There's enough kids in care. There's enough kids in hotels. There's enough kids on the streets. There's enough kids being trafficked. And that is what's happening to the kids that are not going into foster. Because when their home life is not good, somebody is out there using other kids to pull them out of their homes, showing them that it's somebody over here that'll care for you. And once they get them over there, they are beat. They take 10 days. 10 days, that's all it takes for them to train them, drug them, beat them, and make them turn into what they want them to turn because they put fear in them. 10 days. They use 10 days to transition these girls and boys. And it's not just girls, they're doing boys too. This is a multi-million-dollar industry. Sex trafficking, human trafficking. And if you don't know the meaning of it, it is for someone, not just sex, because you can have somebody cleaning your home. They can be a maid in your home, and that is human trafficking. If you are not, if they're not in your home by their own will. And that is going on here in the United States. Because they want to leave their home so bad to be a US citizen. People are being here and they're being mistreated and made to be maids and made to be slaves. And we still got that's going on now. People, they're taking our children out of the country as we speak. And our own children in our backyard are the ones that are They're using to do it. I know because I have seen some of my past students that I drove school buses that's adults now, and they're in jail because somebody has paid them to try to take children out of their homes, try to traffic them. All they doing is it's like you giving a dog a bone. But if you're not taking care of them at home and giving them shoes and clothes and everything they need, why wouldn't they take it from a stranger? Yes, I know that our system is broke, but it's still needed. It's still needed. We need people like Philia Cheek Walker that had over 127 foster children in her home. That was my aunt. We need people like that that's willing. No, they might have didn't stay long term, but guess what? They had a home for a weekend. They wasn't in a hotel. And in that weekend, you don't know what kind of seed you can plant. You don't know what you can do in 1 day or 3 days or 2 weeks. You may not want to do what we did. We had no idea that this was going to turn out the way it turned out. 1 year passed, and of course, that's how the process goes. 2 year passed. We went to court every, I mean, every 3 to 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. We went through the process. People came. They had family. But that doesn't mean that. So therefore, by us not being a foster, by us not being an adoptive home, because we was not an adoptive home. And a lot of people don't know this. They came and took our children because we was not an adoptive home. 3 years we had these boys. And it was time for them to go to an adoptive home. Well, what people fail to realize, when they go to an adoptive home, they don't get adopted right away. The adoptive family, they have 6 months, 6 months to determine if they are fit for their family. Well, what if they're not a fit in those 6 months? They're traumatized again. Because guess what? They're taken out of that home and they go to another home that's for an adoptive family. And guess what? If they decide that they're not a fit for their home, they go to another one. But guess what? They left our home for 8 days. And my husband said, no, we're going to change our home to an adoptive home because we don't put all this work into these boys. Not for them to be re-traumatized over and over and over again. So then all of a sudden, I was like, honey, what do you? He said, I cannot stand looking at my son and my wife as sad as y'all are. And he says, it's not fair to these boys to have to go through this. He brought him back. He said, we're going to change our home to be an adoptive home. And that's what we did. And we started the process. And a year later, in 2021, we adopted them. But they were already ours. So it was just final on paper, but they were already ours. And people said, well, they can lie on you. Honey, your own children can lie on you. And they will. They will. Your own children can say you beat them. And they will. So guess what? The same way you would have to go and prove yourself if it was your child. These kids, they're not lying on you because they're afraid that you don't want them anyways. But I never gave these boys a reason to think that I didn't want them. Now, some of their behaviors, believe me, yeah. But guess what? It wasn't behaviors I hadn't seen in my own children. Now, when I say it wasn't, yeah, my own children, they act out. Maybe they don't act out like this child because my child hadn't been through that. My child hasn't, things haven't been taken away from him. But There are children out there, whether they black, blue, purple, or white. It don't matter the color of your skin. It don't matter what race you bring in. Now, I understand some people can't do medically fragile kids. In the space that I'm in, me working a full-time job, and if I was a at-home mom and I could be at home and be, I could say yes, I could handle that. Being that I'm a full-time mother and both of my husband and I work, we couldn't take on a responsibility like that. I knew that I couldn't take on responsibility of newborns up because it requires you to have to take them to daycare and do all that. Yes, they went to summer camp, but they were able to get up. I gave them a schedule. I gave them chores. They were able to do for themselves. I wasn't in a place in my mind to start over. However, we do have families out there that they like babies. They want babies because some of them they can't have them themselves. And that's their only way of being able to adopt one day because they can't afford to go and pay 10,000 to start this process, and it's almost 50,000 by the time you get the process done to adopt from a private agency. But if you go through the foster care, it's not promised that you're going to get a newborn. But guess what? There's a lot of babies out there, and if you take the time out to love on them and to and they're going to come. If you never raised a child, I don't care if they're 1 year old. If they're having crying fits, if you have a baby and they get sick of your own, they're gonna have crying fits. But if you take a baby that has been moved around from home to home and you expect them to be calm and be perfect, that's not gonna happen. It's gonna take training. It's gonna take time. It's gonna take making this child feel comfortable in this presence. And then you'll see you'll see your progress, but it takes time, and it may take 6 months, it may take a year, it may take 2 years, but you have to have that patience and willingness. If you don't, then it's not for you. Now, after we adopted, my husband did say we had to close our home because, and then of course we talked to the boys and they were like, they had seen, even though they were here, we were still getting other kids on the weekend sometimes, and we would have to move around rooms. And of course, we never took girls. We took a couple of girls one weekend, but they was at one at a time, and we had to combine the boys so we could have a girls' room. But we don't take girls unless we keeping them from going into the hotels. But the boys, we sat down one day and we had a conversation with them, and we said, they was like, "Well, Mom, we kind of happy with just us." I was like, and so of course my husband was like, "I think we need to just wait. We need to be empty nesters for a while, and then we can revisit this later." So our home is closed to fostering. However, I mean, it can be reopened anytime my husband say, we're ready. However, we're just not at that place right now. We're gonna enjoy our last one graduating and see what he has going, which direction he's going. We have my oldest son just got married. I know probably in the next year or two we might have some grandbabies. We don't know. But I mean, if you have any questions, I will feel free to answer anything you have. As far as, like I said, my husband and I, we are um excuse me, we are certified to train foster parents. Um, it's one of the qualifications that you have to go through before you become a foster parent. Besides the CPR, besides the fingerprinting and the background check, and as well as having the home study done, it's it's pretty much a 2 week class that my husband and I, we are trained to be able to facilitate.
Where would
Um,
if somebody wanted to do that? How would they go about doing that?
Well, if they would, well, first they would have to start the process. If they went through, I mean, they have agencies they go through, but if they wanted to do the foster care role, they do. I don't know exactly what day they do, twice a month at DFACS, which is a orientation to go in and you get the packet, and it tells you everything. They go over it. They give you a packet. You take it home. You fill out that packet, and you submit that packet. Once you go through the fingerprint and the background and everything, they'll tell you that, and then you have to do the CPR, and you don't have to do the CPR until you're getting closer to, But once you are ready to start doing the training, then of course DFACs they do have where they do group trainings set up. But if you wanted to do individual trainings in your training in your home, or either we could come to you, my husband and I, and we can train families in their home. If there's anybody in the home over 18 besides the adults, they have to go through the same process as we had to. My son, my oldest son, he didn't have to go through the foster care training, but he did have to go through the fingerprint and the background because he was over the age of 18 when we got the boys. They do at they don't want people that has a perfect home. We don't need people that have a perfect home. If your home is perfect, we don't need you. We need people that's done been through something. If you done been through something, you can help somebody. I've been through something growing up as a child. My husband's been through something. We've seen things. They don't want you to tell like you ain't never been through nothing. You ain't never. I've experienced domestic violence. I know what it's like. I've experienced abuse. I know what it's like. They don't want you to lie on your application and say you ain't been through nothing. They want to know that you've been through something because if you've been through something, you can help a child go through something. You can't help nobody if you ain't been through nothing. I mean, if you've seen stuff, you've been through it. That's trauma. If
Yeah.
you've seen it, that's part of trauma. That's trauma. You ain't always gotta experience it firsthand, but if you've seen it, that's trauma.
What does the training entail?
Well, the training entails it entails role play. It entails how to deal with trauma.
That's good.
And honey, you can help me with this. It's been a minute since we've actually looked, been through the book. It entails well, certain ages of children. Yeah, different ages of children, what to expect, and processes. It talks about when the kids are toddler age, what is allowed in your home, far as ages up to age 1. Children are allowed to be in your room, but they do not allow children in the bed with you. No children. And they encourage, even our own not to be in the bed with us because of SID. It's not because they're worrying about nobody touching a child, but sleeping in the bed. Yeah, you can have the child in the bed with you, but sleeping in the bed with you, they're against that. But a child can be in the room with you up until they're 2 years old in a baby bed. And then after that, they have to go into a room with other siblings. They suggest that the siblings can be in a room together, like if they're brothers and sisters, they can be in a room together, even if they're a girl and a boy, as long as they have separate beds. If they're not siblings, they can be. I could have another boy in the. I can have 3 boys. I can have 4 boys in the same room, as long as they have their own beds.
Hmm.
Um, scenarios of what type of child you would be dealing with. Yeah, my husband's speaking now. Hypertension, um, ADD, HDD. Yeah, you can have on the spectrum. Yeah, he's talking about different disabilities that you can encounter. Can you hear him?
Hmm.
Okay. Do y'all understand the situation of these children, what they're going through? Because these kids, they only understand one thing: who's gonna love me? Who's gonna love me? Who's gonna care for me? Because they don't trust you at the beginning. You have to earn their trust, and once you get their trust, they'll love you for life.
And we put those scenarios in that situation. What foster parents try to understand what's going on and want it. We want it. We want to see what kind of answer they'll give us
Mm,
because we want to know how they feel about it. You're not going to give me a perfect answer because that's what I'm expecting you to give me, but I know that's not what I want because I want to know what you think, not what you feel you need to think for that child. What you need to think for that child, because that child is hoping that you take care of me and show me things that I've never seen in my life, but not hurt me. So it's going to continue hurting myself.
mm,
And these kids are very, very, very particular of who people they deal with. You choosing them, but really they choosing you. It's a great feeling.
I can see that.
And what we found out later on down the line through counseling is that by them saying that they wanted to call us mom and dad, they had already chose their home even before they knew it was going to be their home.
Mm,
We just didn't, but and God knew. So but just like and it was times in our home that you know you think that you got to be perfect in your home, but it was me and my husband. You think they never seen us argue, but what I had to explain to them is this is what a home looks like. Mom and dad don't always be perfect. We don't always see eye to eye. Now we're not fighting. We're not putting our hands on each other. And we might have a little spit and spat, and we want blah 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 blah, and we might go our separate ways. But that's part of family. But we still love each other. We had to sit down and have conversations like that because if you paint them a perfect family and they see something different because they've seen worse. It was times when I came in here and I was in an uproar. And I had, I mean, I just done, I done had it, I blah, 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 and I done had it. And they seen me at that stage. And I had to come back and like I did my own children. I was upset. Sometimes mama gonna get upset. Sometimes I'm gonna be like that. I had to have these conversations. But don't mean I don't love you. It was times when, believe me, defects come see these kids every month. And I remember the first 3 months they came. I never forget the first 3 months they came because I was like, "Mm." Especially that young one, honey. He was a tester. He was a tester. So when she came in here, he thought, well, when she here, maybe if I can do something different, I'm gonna get my way. Or I don't know what he was. I don't know what his mentality was at that time, but I noticed that.
That's grandfather would tell them big things.
y- y- Yeah, but yeah, but I was like, I was looking at him, and I was like, I wonder why he acted like this because this woman up in my house. So I let him do it a couple times. Well, not even a couple times. I let him keep on acting up while she was there for a minute. And then I said, boy, what you doing? I said, why you cleaning my floor with your clothes? Twirling around on my floor. And he looked at me. I said, oh, just a minute. I told that case manager, I called her by name. I said, come on in here. Because she was back there talking to one of the, they talk to him privately because they want to make sure that we're not harming them. And that is fine.
yeah.
But he want to show out while she here. So I had to, and they ain't been here long, but I want to nip this in the bud real quick because ain't no kids gonna run my home. None. My own and nobody else's. But I'm gonna love them. I'm not gonna put my hands on them. But we're gonna have an understanding. So I had to get her to come on in here. And I said, when she ain't here, do you do that? No, ma'am. I said, when she here, you ain't gonna do that. Yes, ma'am. I said, let's make that understood. I said, cause you ain't gonna do nothing in my home that you wasn't doing when she wasn't here. So it ain't gonna change cause she here. I said, cause ain't nobody, including Nehemiah, ain't gonna live here if he can't follow the rules here. Do you understand? He said, yes, ma'am. That was the last conversation we had. Never had a problem again. Now, did he act out sometime? Oh yeah. But guess what? He know what his room is. He know where he can go and take him a little time out. And we had that. But the thing, another thing that foster parents got to realize, when a child come to you at 12 years old and they've been taking care of themselves probably 3 or 4 years, you cannot force power away from a 12-year-old that has been taking care of himself.
Come on, that was my problem.
You cannot.
Mm-mm.
That was my problem too, because when they
They,
said
they ain't
you
gonna let
can't do this, I said, well, I've been doing it all my life, and you gonna tell me I can't do it now? I'm grown now. It's time for me to go. Well, let me tell you something. That 12-year-old had been taking care of his 10-year-old brother for about 5 years.
Wow.
And he had been disciplining him, he had been feeding him. And all of a sudden, they got a mom and daddy. You think I'm gonna take this control from this 12-year-old? No, I didn't. You know what I did?
What you do?
Me and my husband, we sat down with him and we said, let me tell you something. We know you've been taking care of your brother and he your responsibility. But we want you to be a kid. But we want you to be a kid when you're ready. So when you're ready to share that responsibility with us, I said, but right now you can't be whooping him no more. I said, because he was whooping him up in here. Oh no, you can't whoop him. No, when he get him that room, I heard something. Oh no, boy, you putting bruise on him, and that ain't coming from us. You can't whoop your brother. But I said, let me tell you something. We don't do whoopings up in here. I said, but we're gonna talk about it. What the form of punishment should be. I said, but we're gonna let you punish because you've been taking care of him. He said, but he don't listen. I said, but he gonna start listening. I said, but when you ready to, I said, but we want you to be a kid too. But when you ready to let us take the range, we here. Just know it's okay. After about 5 6 months, he didn't say nothing to his brother no more. We did. Mom, he telling on. Dad, he telling on. He started feeling comfortable enough he seen that we wasn't gonna hurt him. He knew we wasn't gonna hurt him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he let his guard down. He started being a kid. He never let his guard all the way down. He's still an adult now. I mean, he's gonna be 21 years old. But and he has the beautifulest heart I've ever known. I mean, very responsible. Most responsible 18-year-old I ever had in my house. I mean, my kids have never had to want for themselves. He came wanting for himself, but he didn't have to. He's been working since he was 15 years old. I didn't want him to. He chose to. He works a full-time job now. He wants to. I don't want him to. I'd rather him go to school, but that's not what he chose. But we support him whatever he chooses, and he knows that. And he knows that he can stay as long as he need to, because guess what? He helps out in the home.
Mm.
He helps out in the home. Yes, there's gonna come a time, and when he's ready, he was gonna move out one time, and we helped him just like we would help our own. We was getting furniture ready and everything, but he was only willing to move out when he was going with a friend. That was no longer. He didn't want to go, and that was fine, because we don't rush our children out. We make sure they are financially,
That's good.
mentally,
Yeah.
and emotionally stable
Yeah.
when they move out.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to make sure they are financially
Mm-hmm.
secure where they know how to pay bills
Mm-hmm.
on their own. And that means gradually allowing them to pay bills while they're home
Mm-hmm.
and paying their own bills while they're home.
Mm-hmm.
And then they transition out, then they know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
because that's how we had to learn. Well, I didn't learn that way. I went out there and I had to fall,
Yeah.
go bankrupt, and everything else. Start over. But guess what? I made it.
Yeah.
But my kids ain't gonna have to make it like that. I hope, because I'm instilling this in them. I'm teaching them at 18 years old when they're in college, giving them something small, a little bit here and there, showing them how to save, how to look at their credit scores, how to make sure their mental health is good. They're going to counseling if they need to. If they have some unsolved things, because even though you do counseling as a child, things crop up when you become an
Yep.
adult. You might have to
Mhm.
revisit that again.
Yeah. Sure.
It's okay. It's okay not to be okay, because sometimes I'm not okay and I have to go back and visit it again. It's okay. We need to get out of the mentality that of how we was raised. Because I don't believe in do as I say and not as I do. Because that's not an example.
Yeah.
If you're doing wrong, you can't expect your kids to follow. No, you don't want them to follow. You want them to do as you say, but if they see it, they're gonna do it. You got to lead by example. That means everything.
Yeah.
Am I
Sure.
perfect? No. Believe me, my kids think, oh, mama, I remember I said it, but did I do it? Yeah, I said I was going to basketball your head if you bounced that ball in my house again. But did I do it? No, I didn't. I said it, I was going to drop kick you. But did I do it? No, I didn't. I said that because it didn't do no good. You laughed at me. They still laugh at me. I said, Nehemiah, I tried to hit you one time. What'd you do? He said, I dodged. But I mean, I told this youngest one the other day. I said, "You get another speeding ticket, I'm gonna choke you and go to jail and go to jail." I said that.
Hmm.
I went to court with him and told him what I said too. So nobody ain't got to repeat what I said. You can ask the solicitor up there. She'll tell you I said it.
Hmm.
I sure did, and I meant it. And my older son told me that the youngest one is he's a product of the military. I can't put my hands on him. I said, guess what? I guess I'm going to prison. Cause as long as they're in my house, guess what? I'm gonna put my hands on them if they put their hands on me. Mm-hmm. So I love my children. I love all children.
Me too.
I love all children. I People say, why
Me
you
too.
drive that school bus? It's
You gotta
therapy.
love children. Yeah.
It's therapy. I can't tell
Yeah.
you. I feel like I mean, even in that little bit of time,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing something.
Yeah.
I don't know
They're
what
your
God
children.
has me doing,
They're my
but
babies.
yeah, they are. They really
Yeah.
are. You just don't know. This one, honey, last Friday, I got on to him. I got on to him 3 times. I finally had to raise my voice. He turned around, them eyes, they got so big and they started swelling up with water. And I said, I know you ain't going to try to cry after I gave you 3 chances. Now, you know I love you, but you can't stand up while I'm driving.
Yeah.
And he just sucked himself on down in the seat. And that's my baby. I'm going to tell you. He wanted that got my heart now. He wanted I let kind of get away with a little stuff that I won't let the other ones. But I gotta let them know that you can't be letting them know that you my baby and all that, because then they're gonna think that I be playing favoritism. And then I had to hug him when he got off the bus, and I was like, I got you a treat next week. You know, can't let everybody know that.
Yeah.
But I do have some of my little
Right.
favorites, y'all. And but and I felt so bad, but I had to give him a hug and whisper in his ear so the other kids wouldn't hear. I had to do that because they're gonna think that I'm weak if I don't make you sit down. You know, can't be weak on him. Girl, he's so little and he got my heartstring. So and I got another one right now. I got another one right now in RY, 18 years old, finna graduate. And Lord Jesus, my husband just don't know. He already said no, but He already grown. He can sign his paper. He can sign himself. He's a good kid. He really is. And every time he does well, nobody go visit him. I go visit him on visitation. I do. Because I see something in him. But I know that as soon as he get out, if he don't have the support he needs, he's going to be one that he's going into the adult system. And I hate to say that, and I don't want that to happen to him. I'm trying to find ways that when he come out, he'll be out of juvenile. I want him to go to I want him to go to Job Corps. I want him to leave this. He don't even live in this area, but I want him to leave the area. I don't want him to go back to his home area. I want him to go straight somewhere else. He gonna have his GED. He's gonna be doing. I don't want him to come back because I know what can happen if he go
Yeah.
back there. He can't come back to DJJ. If he get new charges, he going into the adult system. I don't want that for him because he's got my heart because I see something in him. I know there's something there. He just want to be loved. And if
Yeah.
somebody took the time out to show him and give him that love, but he can't go back to where he came from. Because you thinking you yelling at him and doing that, you're not giving him that love by just yelling and saying, "Oh, you doing this, you keep on messing up."
Yeah.
We mess up. We all mess up. But are
Yeah.
you giving him that nurturing he needs so he don't mess up?
Yeah.
So he don't find a need to go out there and run with this person and go and rob somebody and do this and do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just I wish there was a way that there was a home that would take, you know, 18, 19-year-old boys that, even if it was, I mean, I'm banging my head against the wall because I know in September I want a plan for him
Mm-hmm.
away from him going out being into the no, it's nothing I can do. But if he has a home that's gonna be stable to go back to, it can show. I mean, he can start Lanier Tech in the fall because he's already got his GED. I mean, it's so many things that he could be doing if he had that support.
Yeah. Support is everything. And it took me a long I know. Girl, we've been on here. Time is up.
Okay.
But this has been good. This has been great. I want to say this. Yes, you're right. Support is everything. It took me a long time. It took me to I met my spiritual parents to understand the importance of support because at 13 I thought I was grown and I've been making calling all my own shots, doing what I want to do. Thank God I didn't want to do too much. Because if I wanted to, I could have. Wasn't nobody there to say you ain't doing it.
I
I
know it.
put the
I
brakes
was scared. I was a scared
yeah, I
child.
put the brakes on my own self. I seen like jail and prison and handcuffs and drugs. This ain't my so yeah, this has been good. This has been great. I want to say thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story with us. It's been powerful. Guys, if you have any questions, you can email those to me and I can get those to her. If you have any questions about becoming a foster parent, doing the foster training. But when you talk about kids, I can sit here and listen about kids all day long because I love children. I absolutely love children. And I believe that the enemy, this is just Renee talking from my experience, I believe the enemy tries to attack us so much when we're little because he know if he can get us at that stage, that's when we're most vulnerable. And if he can get us at that stage, we will spend the rest of our lives trying to come out of what happened to us when we were little. And the longer you in this, I share this with me and all the time. The longer you in this thing, the digger you digging that hole is going down and down. It's going to take you longer to come out of it. And you're going to have to be patient with yourself. You're going to have to be deliberate with coming out. At least that's what I had to do. And so yeah, I think the enemy. So that way we spend all this time trying to work our way out of that. What happened to us when we was a child? We never get to. He wants to use up all that time to where we never get to our purpose in life, never get to the plan that God has for our life. Because we come into this world, God knew us before we was born. He called us while we was in our mother's womb. He already have it worked out for us. It's just us getting on that timeline with the Father. But I always ask my guests to pray us out. If you have any last words that you like to share, and then pray us out. I want to say thank you for coming and sharing with us. We really, really appreciate that. Thank you for your expertise. I want to say thank to everyone for watching. Don't forget to tag and share if you're on Facebook, and don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe button if you're watching on the YouTube channel. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Father God, I come to you as humble as I know how. Lord, you know our hearts. You know our needs. Lord, and as I always said, these are your children. These are your children, Lord. We're just a vessel. We're just here to nurture. We're here to support. We're here to guide. Every one of us are here to water these children so they can grow to be who you want them to be. Not who we choose or want them to be, but who you want them to be. Lord, I know that everything is in your hands and your timing. I know that everything that we do as we go forward, everything that we do when we rise in the morning till we lay down at night, you know what we done before we've done it. You know what we're gonna do before we do it. You know our hearts. You know our coming and our going. Lord, I just ask that you continue to give us guidance. You continue to plant the seeds in our hearts to do right, not just by ourselves, but by others.
Yes, Lord.
Lord, I just ask that you continue to cover our leaders. Lord, cover our leaders, cover our children, cover our nation. Lord, I ask that you cover our nation like you never covered it before. We need you, Lord. We need you. I plead the blood of Jesus on everything that is going on in the world right now, Lord. I plead the blood because it's not happening without your approval. We know that your hands is on it. I ask that you cover all the soldiers and their families. I ask that you give them a discernment. I ask that you give them an understanding. I ask that you make sure that they're leading in your example. Lord, I ask that you continue to just continue, Lord, to just forgive us of our transgression. Lord, because I know we're not perfect. And I know we sin and we fall short every single day. But Lord, I just ask that you do this in your son's Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I want to say thank you guys for having on, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all you have done and all that you're going to do. This has been amazing. That was a powerful prayer. Guys, please tag and share this out. And like, once again, if you have any questions about fostering parenting or being the training, please send those to me and I'll make sure I get that to the right person. Thank you, Tony, for coming and sharing. That was a powerful prayer. I almost about to shout and preach. Thank you, Lord, for all that you have done in this time. Yeah, that was powerful. That I felt that was the Lord there. Hallelujah. Praise God. That was good. Hallelujah. Thank you guys for hopping on. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing, Tanya. I love you guys. Have an amazing week. And together we can put a stop to child abuse.
Yes.
Together. As my sister said, see something, say something. Thank you, Tanya. Have a blessed
Thank you.
week.
Bye-bye.